Hi, Andrew Camphy here with Better Sheets, getting you better at Google Sheets right here, right now. Today I'm sharing you 5 ways to use the if function inside your Google Sheets. We're going to sprinkle a little magic on your sheets. Let's get started on what's going on first. Show you each of them, all of them together. Then I'm going to break them down and show you each individual one and explain a couple of use cases you might have with it. So first one is blank. So if we have a blank cell and we want to fill it in with something, we can just say hi. And there in the G column, you filled it in. Next, if you have checkboxes and you're like, hey, we want something to happen based on this checkbox, you can see checked off. Maybe you have 2 checkboxes in which both of them need to be checked off. Check off both of these boxes, both true. And see this happen, we can add whatever text we want here. Now, maybe you have 2 people in which only one of them needs to, say, approve something. We can have this person check off, at least one true, this person, and if both of them check it off, nothing changes. Now, maybe you have someone who is the gatekeeper, let's say, someone who is the first approval. Nothing else matters until this one thing happens. So here we have this one, and you say first true only, and if this is checked off, both true. Now, if we uncheck the first one, see it goes away, so that nothing happens. Based on the second checkbox, nothing happens. But if it's checked off and this one's checked off, now it says both true. So now I'm going to go into each one, and then I'm going to share with you some use cases. This one is the ISBLANK. We use the if formula, and then we have ISBLANK formula, and then C, which is actually all of this cells here merged together. Then we have 2 commas, and you filled it in. And I'll explain those 2 commas in a second. So let's start from the beginning. Let's go equals, if, then we have a parentheses, we go ISBLANK, and we use, which is the cell that is this merged cell here. We end parentheses. Now, if you're not familiar yet, Google has this great little helper that tells you what it needs in order to do what it does, this formula. Now, once we hit comma, we have a value if it's true. So if this C2 is blank, what do we want to happen? Well, in our case, we want nothing to happen if it actually is blank. So we just give another comma, and we have literally nothing here. What is logical is you might think you have to have something here, so you might put 2 quotes in. You don't really have to. You can just have nothing. And then C2, 2 commas, because we want to get past that value if true and now to the false. Now, if the cell is not blank, our logical expression here in the first part is going to be false. So is blank returns either a true or false. Is it blank? Yes, true. Is it not blank? False. So when it's false, we want some kind of message. We want, hey, message here. We can go here, delete this, and now we have 2 blanks. One thing that might happen here that is a bit something to look after is if you have a space, you filled it in. Even though it visually does not look like you filled it in, you filled it in. That is if blank is blank. Now, based on the checkbox, if you got the is blank one, this one's even easier. Checkboxes are visual representations of true, false. So if we look up here in the formula bar, we can see already it says false for this C3. And if we check it, it's true. So we have nothing to do for a checkbox other than create the checkbox and then do equals if. We need is the cell that it's in. If it's true, meaning it is checked off. Actually, that's not C2, C3. Boy, I almost messed up there. But that's good that it showed you, right? This is showing false, and I see that it's checked off. So, oh my god, I know that it's a problem. All right, C3. What happens when the checkbox is checked? We want hey, and then if it's false, we want nope. Now we have hey, and if we uncheck the box, nope. There you go. It's working. All right, now with 2 checkboxes, they both must be checked in order to be true. This is going to be equals if, and then in our logical expression, we need the formula and. We literally just have to put in E4 and E4 is the other box. Separate them with a comma and the parentheses, and now the logical expression will only be true if both of those are checked off, if both are true. So we say yes, and now if they're not both checked off, if only one of them checked off or none of them are checked off, we'll say, and now we can go back and uncheck them and see perfect. If both are checked off, it works perfectly. That is using and. But maybe you don't need both of these checked off. This is the exact same thing as we just did and, except we use the or. So we do C5, E5. These are the 2 cells over here on the left. And what do we want? If it's true, yep. And if it's false, no. And now we uncheck both of them, and we check only one of them. Yes, true. Perfect. All right. Get your coffee for this one. This one's a little more difficult. Let me share with you the final thing, the final state of this, and then I will try to break it down. So what we have here is if, and we have the if is C6, the C column here, the first one. Then we have comma if again in the value if true state. Then we have E6. And then we have our text that we want. But we also have another text that's not seen here after this comma and this false one over here. And I will get to that in a second. So this is the end state we need to get to over here. And this is very much determinant upon your need, like what you're trying to do here, which one is the gatekeeper. I'll go into the reasons why you might need this in a second after this, but let's just get through it. It's if logical expression in our case, we want the C6, this first one, to be the one that based on true or false, what else happens. So we just do C6 if. Now everything we do now is based on if the first one is true. Then we go if it's false, what happens? What state do we want? So if it's true, we want if as well. And now we want E6 over here. And if both are true, we want to say both are true. Now, if the first one is true and the second one is false, we want to go one is true. Now, I'm going to end the parentheses and add a comma, and then I'm going to not do anything. I'm going to add another parentheses, but I'm not going to put anything in the false. But actually, that's what we did in the G column. So let's do it here. We'll just say gate is closed. There we go. So now both are true. We uncheck the second one. Now this one says first is only true. This one says one is true. They're both correct. We uncheck the gatekeeper. And now this says nothing, but our one that we just did says gate is closed. So in this case, both are false. All right, let me share with you one thing about this that might make it easier. This is what I like to do, at least when I'm trying to do these sort of if trees or if decision trees or issue trees. What I do is let's go put some text true, false. And from these, I have two possible outcomes, or true, false. I'll double it up here. And false, I double it up here. And now we have true, false, true, false. Okay, so this is based on the first one, and this is the second. And now we can say, okay, what's going to happen if both are true? And we can say the result here, result 1, result 4. And now we know based on true, 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 false, false, true, false, false. This is useful just to write out first before I create the if formulas and the if formula, just so that I can test out. Sometimes you need to know the result first and then you can test it out. We're going to go into some use cases now, and I'm going to come back to the if statements and let you know how I've used this in the past. ISBLANK is really fun because it's literally making something from nothing. A few things I've used this in the past for is if I need someone to fill something out and they need the feedback of knowing that they filled it out, that this is complete. Sometimes you can do an emoji, a checkbox, instead of a message. Maybe they need to fill in their name, and so you have a checkbox. All right, for the checkbox, what I like to do in this case, have a checkbox. If you have a quiz, if you have, say, a multiple choice quiz you've created in Google Sheets, and you can set the answers to like show up on a final page, right? These formulas don't necessarily have to be on the exact same page. So this check could be one of 4 answers, like A, B, C, D on a page. And on the last page, it could have the grade already done. So that's really fun for quizzes. And if you're not a teacher and you're not creating quizzes, you might actually be able to add to info products. So if you're creating a checklist for people or a workbook or a planner, one thing is at the bottom of every page, add a checkbox to say, hi, I read this page. You can do that on each of these sort of tabs, create a little workbook. And then at the end or at the beginning, have progress bars over how many pages have they like actually gotten through. Might be nice to even have like a start here page where you show 5 sections to go through as you go through each one. At the bottom, check it off, and then show their progress as they go through it. That's really nice. Might have mentioned the and use case already. One of the most easiest and best use cases is, say, you have a few people that need to approve some process. Like you have a business process or an operation in your business in which multiple people need to see the end result or approve it or at least check off that they've seen it. And is really beautiful for this. You can create columns of checkboxes. If there's, say, 3 or 4 people working on a project and they need to, say, approve it. If you're creating lead lists, but you have, like, say, all the websites and you need to find contacts for each of these websites and you need a person to go through each one and find it. But there's like, you have 3 or 4, give each of them a column, and say, hey, check off the one you've done. And now you have checks in sort of 3 or 4 columns, right? But using or, you can say, did anyone see this one contact? And then you can figure out which contacts haven't been done if not all of them are checked off. None of them are checked off. And now the if If this one's really fun and useful, it can be very useful if you have a number of different results based on different evaluations, right? True, 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 false, false, true, false, false. If you have these different results, right? 4 results from two things that happen. As I said before, if you have some kind of gatekeeper, you have like, say, someone who needs to do something first, say in an order. If, say, you're doing some kind of ranking or evaluation of past processes, and you're like, out of these 3 processes, we need to pick one. Now, everybody needs to sort of vote on which one they want, but if you have one dominating vote where you're like, oh, this one person sort of dictates more than anyone else, if might be a good use case, but honestly, it is better if it's like more first, second, third order, like in a time division, than sort of ranking division. There's another sort of formula in the same sense, and it's called switch, where you have one expression. And this is not necessarily good for true, false. It's if you have some answer, and based on the answer, something else has to happen. So I've used this in months. So if I have a drop-down selection of, okay, pick your month, then based on that month of January, February, March, something else has to happen. So the expression is like E1, and the case is January. What do I want? This is first month, I'll say. And then in case G1 is February, I can never spell through. I want it to say second month. And we can go on. And so if we hit enter, what do we have here? It's going to give us NA. And why is that? Is because this has nothing in it, and both of these cases are false. See, it says the error is not. It doesn't work. It says that there was no match. So we need to have something here. And if we even have, let's just put something, it's still going to say no match. So it really has to be G. And now it's first month, second month. Switch is very good if you have like a drop-down menu and data validation based on only these set of potential options are here. So we're going to give some other thing, but that's really good. I did check boxes here because they're easy representations of true, false, but you can have any kind of true, false statement, basically anything that renders a true false statement. So you can have a text equals something. We can even do that here. We can say equals if E7 equals yes sir, and if that's true, we'll say hello, and if false, we'll say bye. So right now it says bye, but if C7 says yes sir, say hello. So you can do text as well. Thank you for watching this entire video. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm really excited to see more magic in spreadsheets. Don't make any sheets, make better sheets.